Welcome back. This is episode 16 of the Fantasy Fling podcast. It's week 16. It's Christmas Eve. Got my dad here. We have eggnog with brandy. Paul and Eric got some drinks. Paul's back. This episode is going to be fun. And a bet on it to break down his first ever championship appearance in our league, as well as Paul. And we have him back on. That's his opponent this week. And as always, we have Eric, my co-host, here with me. We will take a look back at week 15. There were hot plays. There were shameful plays. Eric and I are not in the championship, and it's been many years since one of us has not been in the championship. It's either me or Eric or both of us. So, of course, we will do a walk of shame with that, and then we will preview the week 16 main slate on DraftKings. But we'll start it with looking back at week 15. Some of the hottest plays on DraftKings on that main slate. Number one, Jalen Hurts. This dude looks like Kyler Murray. He looks like Lamar Jackson. He looks like Josh Allen in ways, just a mobile quarterback who can kill it. He can go off at any time and score 40-plus points, which is what he did last week on DraftKings. He was the number one spot. I believe he had 40 points on DraftKings. Most PPR formats, he had 37 points. Second was Ryan Tannehill. Didn't work out so well for him as a Dolphin, but he is killing it in Tennessee, his second try. So he had 37 points, the second spot. And then Kyler Murray, the shoulder seems to be good. He's back to the Kyler Murray that we know, 34 points. And then Lamar Jackson, looking like the Lamar Jackson we saw in 2019. He had 30 points. And then, Matt Ryan, he's real Jekyll and Hyde. He's either going to get like 3 points or he's going to have like 30 points. Well, last week he had 27 points. So those are the top 5 quarterbacks. And then running backs, literally like 90 minutes before lock on Sunday, we got the news that Ezekiel Elliott was out. And Tony Pollard, dude, every time like he's come in this year, he's looked better than Zeke. Like he just has. And finally he got a full game without Zeke to show it. And he crushed it. 31 points last week. And then David Montgomery just behind him. He had 29 points. The week before he had like a huge 80-yard run, and then he only saw 11 carries. A little worried about playing him, but if you played him, you were rewarded with 29 points. And then 2 of these next 3 backs here will be featured in our championship. Dad, you have Delvin Cook.
Yep.
He had a great week last week, 26 points. J.D. McKissick, 25 points. And then Paul, your boy, King Henry.
King Henry, man, week by week, man shows up, carrying my team.
Yep, absolutely. And it keeps going. And, I played him last week because this dude is, this is his time of the year. And this year, more than ever, he is on pace to rush for 2,000 yards if he finishes the season strong. So you get a player like King Henry of his caliber, he's obviously going to be pretty stoked to join that elusive, exclusive 2,000-yard club. Yeah, that's it for the running backs.
Eric, yeah, man. Oh, dude, yeah, Tony Pollard, just to reiterate on that, there's the guys from RotoViz were really high on him. They're like, if something happens with Zeke, like he's a league winner. Zeke seems to never miss games, though. That might have been his first game he's ever missed. I don't know. He doesn't miss many, apart from like suspension or like actually injury. So, the guy looks like Pollard looks pretty awesome. Wonder if they're kind of regretting all that money they gave to Zeke. That guaranteed contract.
They always do, man. That's the thing about running backs. They're never excited about once you get to the end of that contract, they're never excited about it on the second contract.
Yep. Maybe Henry might be different just because he's so damn big. He can hold up, but we'll see how that goes as well. But yeah, man, going into wide receivers, Ryan is number 5, so usually there's someone that carries along with them. So Calvin Ridley hit 32 points, especially when Julio's out. Ridley's a beast, man. He's a stud this year. I think he's like 5th highest in points per game for receivers. Yeah. So guy's a beast. Another guy your dad has, DeAndre Hopkins. That kind of put the nail in the coffin in our game. I had a chance until D-Hop caught that big touchdown. I was like, yeah, that's the end. That's the end of it for me. Stephon Diggs, another stud, one of the best route runners in the league, 25 points. Marvin Jones. Am I reading that right? 20.2 points.
Right.
In there. And then Zach Pascal, 25 points. Who you don't think that was kind of.
I think Marvin Jones is supposed to be 27 points.
27. Okay. I was like, something looks a little off there.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. And then Zach Pascal, I think that was kind of a fluke. That was a fluke.
The brandy. My drink.
This is the best of them.
And I'll tell you what, moving on to tight ends, he doesn't seem to do well until he plays my team. But Mark had Darren Waller, who went off again. He went off like 3 weeks ago in our matchup, and he went off last week again. Son of a bitch, man. 30 points.
Yeah.
And a guy you're getting used.
Mark's team always goes off when he plays against you.
I don't know what it is, man. Like this
Raiders just need to build that team around Waller, I think.
Dude, the game between Mark and I went how the whole season went. I would have beat anyone else that week except for Mark. So I was like, son of a bitch. But
and the last time you played too.
I would have beat anyone else except for Mark. Yep. But number 2 tight end, it's a guy we're starting to see on the list.
It always goes that way.
I was like, what's that? I didn't hear. Yeah, Logan Thomas.
No, I said it always goes that way.
Yeah. Whether it's Alex Smith or it seems like Dwayne Haskins, Logan Thomas seems to be appearing on this list pretty often. He's becoming a kind of a key point in the offense. No surprise, Travis Kelce. So Thomas had 23, Kelce just about 23. Mark Andrews with 17, who's his number 1 target there in Baltimore, and then Tyler Higbee, 16 points. So not a bad way to round it off. Which, by the way, I never in a million years thought the Jets would beat the Rams. By the way, so that was pretty shocking. But
yeah. I mean, I had to play against the Rams defense. I was like, well, no, Brandon's
going to put up 30
points here.
But that's it for the tight ends.
Dude,
we'll round it up with the defenses.
Yeah, I'll talk about it. Yeah, I'll talk about it on the walk of shame, of course. But when I was looking at the week, I was like, I got Ramsey and I got Akers. Anyone who plays DFS knows that is correlated. It's a correlated lineup. That's what you want. And also, I thought those two would like at least get me like 35 to like 40 points. I thought they'd give me like 50, but
yeah.
Fantasy football, the fantasy gods, they have other ideas.
Real
Sometimes
ugly
they
week
pick a
we
bunch,
had.
so that didn't happen.
Nothing pretty was going on either side.
Not so much, no. Well, with defenses, we have the Cowboys, 15 points. Nobody really like stood out too crazy this week. No, all the top teams are pretty close to one another. And the Colts, 10 points, the Cardinals, 10 points, the Ravens, 10 points, Seahawks, and the Dolphins, 9 points. That will round out our top 5. Now, hot plays of week 15. I'm going to let the 2 guests of the show today get into it. These guys they're in the championship game. They obviously had a good week. Dad, you want to start it out? Talk about your team, your hot plays. Let you get a little closer to the mic there.
I think I didn't know you were going to throw this on me.
Surprise!
My consistent, go-to guys. The whole season, Rodgers, Cook have been consistent.
Yeah.
Dalvin Cook, it's a little surprising because Minnesota's really not doing that well, but he's still consistent week to week. And then, Corey Davis and Hopkins, they're a little bit off and on from week to week, but just finding the right combination, I guess.
Yeah.
Eric mentioned Waller. Waller's again another one who's been consistent, even with the ups and downs of the Raiders. But those are, I guess, kind of my hot plays. Dolphins defense. Defense has they've had 3 weeks in a row where they've been in double-digit points. So. And aside from that, it's just, the normal week-to-week ups and downs. Lost Mostert this week, so that's going to change some things with my matchup with Paul. So we'll see who prevails, right, Paul?
Yeah, I saw you put Henderson in, I believe, because Akers is out. So, that came through right when it needed to.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as my matchup last week, the only one that shined is King Henry, like he does every single week. What happened between me and Brandon was just probably about the ugliest fantasy football championship round you could possibly put together. Just nothing good. And then I guess just Monday topped it off with Juju finally dancing for his last time on the logos after he got cracked. Going into that game up 4 points on Monday, should have pulled him. As soon as Juju went -2 points, I butthole pucker 9,000. But yeah, it was just an ugly week. But King Henry, week by week, dude's a rock.
Yep. Yeah, and to go on add on to that, Mark's had probably the most consistent team the whole year. I mean, sorry, I'm away from Mike. He had the highest point total throughout the season. He was, had high point totals when he needed them. He was consistent. And, with Mostert going out and Akers going out, he lost Akers, but he has, like you said, Henderson. So he had a very consistent team for sure.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why he finished with 10-3 at the top. Yep.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember when we recorded the first podcast, well, the second podcast, because we got too drunk when we recorded the first one and we didn't actually record it. The second podcast, which was actually the Fantasy Fling first podcast that was ever available, we brought down the draft, and I was like, I remember saying to Eric, I was like, I love my dad. He's very smart at football, but he normally has a homer draft and not very good. But this year he crushed his draft. And I mean, the results speak for themselves.
Yeah. I don't think you've done much waiver wire or trading or anything. You just kind of let that set the sail, let that thing go. And
rode that pony all the way to the end.
Yep.
Well, I could say this. I still think I had too many Broncos on my bench. My second or third tier guys. So
yeah,
I learned from that this year.
Yeah,
Joey learned from that this year.
Yep.
He has Judy on his bench, but it didn't hurt him too well. And of course, when you got Waller as your starter, and you get Noah Fan on your bench scoring 20 points, your team is pretty good.
Yep.
But like I said, it's kind of been the year of my dad. We talked about this in the group chat. Got married, moved to North Carolina, bought a home. Now he's in the championship. So, maybe
congratulations to both of you guys.
2020, what a year.
Congratulations.
Paul's trying to put a spoiler to the best year ever.
Trying to. I got a lot of work in front of me.
Yeah. Well, as far as everyone out, we know Eric and Dad's hot place, but Paul and Dad's hot place. But Eric, how about your hot plays of last week? What do you got for us?
Where the fuck did my sheet go, man? Son of a gun.
It's okay. I'll start it.
Sorry.
So, no worries. I'm not talking about a championship berth, so this is going to be short and sweet for me. I didn't really have a ton of hot plays. As far as DFS goes, Jalen Hurts, I pretty much put him in every lineup, and he crushed the week for me. I mean, he got 40 points. Played a lot of Derrick Henry. I had some exposure to Fournette, but it's really when that news came down before lock about Pollard. I played a lot of him too. So Pollard and Fournette both crushed it for me. I think Fournette had like 21 points and he was 4,500. And then Brandon Ayuk, I pretty much plugged him into every lineup, and he got like 22 points for me.
Yep.
It was one of those weeks in cash where I averaged well over 150 points and I lost money. So it was kind of tough in cash, tough sledding in cash, but it's kind of funny because I literally did no research for the showdowns, and I just looked at both the teams and I made one lineup, and every single showdown lineup that I played for the Sunday night game cashed. I played Chubb in the captain spot. He got me like 21 points, which really wasn't even that good considering his price. But him, Mayfield, Higgins, the Browns D, Ingram, and Gano, the kicker, were 77 points. So there was enough to cash in all the tournaments that I entered in. And like I said, short week in hot place for me. So Eric, did you find your?
I did. My sheets fell on the floor from the plays, but I played Jalen Hurts in a lot of leagues. It's kind of funny. Right before our matchup for the finals, to get to the finals, I said right before the game started, I was like, I almost put in Hurts over Big Ben. It's like I may regret this. We'll see what happens. Yeah. Should have done that. Should have done that. Killed me, man. But he's got that cheat code they call it. The legs. So I put in Hurts, Brady, and Tannehill. I played those three a decent amount, and they all worked out pretty well. Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor I liked a lot as well because of the matchups. And I had Dobbins in a fair amount of lineups too. He did okay. I think he was 5,900 and he scored little over doubled. Logan Thomas I played a lot, and J.D. McKissick actually. I thought the game he scored as many points as I thought he would, but I thought the game would be different. I thought the Seahawks were going to just crush him and they'd be playing from behind, but they were playing from behind, but not. I think he had like 15 targets, J.D. McKissick. It was insane. So he helped me a lot as well. I figured with Gibson out again, he'd be a good play, and he worked out pretty well. And that's it. As far as those go, I had a couple prize picks that did well for me. Nice. There was one that I just flopped, which I guess we'll get to in the losses, but had to do with the Steelers game. That did not go well for me. But I had over on the Cook, Henry, and McKissick. I had an over on Logan Thomas and Dwayne Haskins, believe it or not, and Cook. And then the one that killed me was Big Ben, Juju, and Deontay. That didn't go too well. I thought they'd all have the over. That one just was bad. But overall I won, so I'll take that. Yeah,
dude, that's awesome. Yeah, and with prize picks, it's pretty sweet. You're just guessing the over-under on player props. We talked about it before. You do a flex play, they'll 2 extra entry, and then power play, which is a parlay, which if you're Keira Knightley and you're a sexy-ass bitch, you get to renegotiate your rights. That's a parlay, apparently, according to Paul on our Halloween edition. So, that shit was hilarious. I drove to North Carolina. It was this week. And 24-hour drive, so I listened to some of our podcasts.
Like, we lost all control.
That was a good one. Anyways, they will. If you do 3 out of 4 entries, they'll pay out. Actually, if you get 4 right and you parlay it, they will 10 extra entry. So, Prize Picks, it's a pretty fun way to play fantasy football and not play against sharks. You get 10 extra entry just by guessing, the right over-unders. And also, if you use code FLING, we will 100% deposit match your deposits up to $100. So you can check them out, find them in the App Store. Prize Picks. But moving on to our shameful plays. Like I said, I didn't cash this week. It's funny because before the games, me and Paul were talking about it in the group chat. And he's like, because me and him were going against each other. And he's like, well, I've got a bunch of edibles, and I'm going to take these if I lose, so I don't have to feel anything. Unfortunately,
I might be doing that again this weekend.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. It's like before when the Broncos played the Panthers in the Super Bowl. I had like 20 beers before the game.
Was that all you had?
Yeah, I probably had more than that. Maybe some shots too. But just based on nerves alone, sometimes you got to do that.
You got to just slow it down a bit.
Yeah. My walk of shame, I didn't cash. I lost in the semifinals. I lost 2 out of 3 actually, and I had a Monday Night Miracle to make 1 in the Operation Fantasy League, which I did not see coming because Juju only needed 5 points to beat me. I had like a 10% chance, if that, of winning, and then Juju got 1.5 point or something.
Crazy. 0 in half.
So I had a Monday Night Miracle, but Paul smoked me.
I don't know if we call that smoking anybody.
Yeah.
I think he scraped by.
Yeah, it's true. So I had earlier in the week, I had a 73% projection to win the game. And I don't really believe those projections a whole lot, but I really liked my team. Like I said, I had the Rams D going against the Jets. I was like, that's 20 or 30 points potentially. Yeah, Akers. I had Akers. He did nothing. I had Metcalf, Allen Robinson, AJ Brown. In all reality, based on their be any elite wide receivers. I did nothing with those guys. So yeah, I think I scored like 108 points in my lineup with Lamar Jackson, Swift, James Robinson, Metcalf, Allen Robinson, AJ Brown. Hawkinson got me like negative points. Like, what the fuck, dude? He's good for like 10 points a week on the low, and he got me negative points in the semifinals. That's my walk of shame. I don't want to talk about it much more, but I'll let you go, Eric, because I'm sure you have one.
I have. There's a bunch of little ones like Hilton, Hawkinson killed me. In some lineups, but I have two that really were bad. One in season long, one in parlay. But the season long, I'm in a dynasty league, and I didn't realize I had Zeke in any league. I thought I had traded him away in every league. And the news broke, and I saw it, and I was like, "Oh, I'm good." And then the game's starting. I'm like, "Oh, motherfucker!" I had Pollard on the bench, and this is a dynasty league where I went 12-1 in the regular season. I did get lucky though. I mean, that's a walk of shame by letting Zeke play because Pollard put up 31. But I had it went down to the wire. I had Landry and he had Chubb. Just so happened to be Landry outscored him, so I kind of got lucky. But that's a face palm. Just not switching those two out. I did not realize I had Zeke in any leagues. I thought I got rid of him. And the other one also has to do with the Rams game. I was in an 18 parlay where I spent $10 to make 130, and I won every single one of them except for the Jets game. I picked the Rams to win, of course. Like, that's easy. That's an easy no-brainer.
Right.
And yeah, they cost me $120. So
it's tough.
Fucking Jets. For the Rams.
Goddamn.
At least they didn't go. I don't blame them though. They didn't want to go 0-16. Nobody does. Nobody wants to go 0-16. Even if you're the last pick, you don't want to go 0-16. So those are my two main ones. Though I've had a bunch of small ones, but those two things is like whoops. So
yeah, I feel you. Well, let's move it along to week 16. We got championships in season long. We got more weeks of DFS. This is the last, for most people, this is the last serious week for DFS because week 17 can get a little crazy. 2020 in general has been crazy. So, I mean, why the fuck not play week 17? I'm going to do it. I'm going to play. And then, of course, once we get to the playoffs, I'll be doing showdowns because those are fun. It's really fun to focus on two teams in DFS or, 4 teams that weekend, whatever it may be. So I actually, come to find out, I prefer the slates with fewer games. I just think it's easier to focus. But anyways, let's look ahead to the DraftKings week 16 main slate. We'll start it with the Vegas lines. First, we have the Falcons at the Chiefs. That's going to be the highest projected game on the slate at 53 points. The Chiefs are 10.5-point favorites. No surprise there. Second, the Eagles and the Cowboys. Gosh, that division is horrible. But, I mean, at least with Hurts coming on, I feel like if the Eagles win it, it'll feel deserved because they have a good team and finally they're getting good quarterback play. So Eagles at the Cowboys, 49.5, and Eagles, they're 2.5 are 2-point favorites. And then surprisingly enough, the other high scoring game on the main slate, Broncos at Chargers, 49 points. I'm guessing it's mainly Chargers to score those points. It'll probably end up being that way. But they're 3.5-point favorites, and then the Bears.
So it's gonna be 49-0.
Yeah, probably. Bears, the Jaguars, 47.5 points.
As long as they're all going to Allen and Henry.
Yeah. Bears 7.5-point favorites, and then the Rams at Seahawks 47.5. Seahawks are 1-point favorites, so not a big spread there. Eric, you want to start it with the quarterbacks?
Yeah, man. Hopefully it's a bounce back week for him, but Jared Goff has a good matchup. He's pretty cheap. He's 5,900. Usually he kind of has a bounce back when he has shitty games like that. And then, this is maybe a gamble, but I think he's pretty safe plays. Baker Mayfield's been playing really good, and they have the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
They beat, with the Steelers losing, that opens up the division for them. So they're going to be putting their foot on the gas pedal, I think. He's only 6,100. And then Jalen Hurts again, man, that guy, he's playing a bad defense in the Cowboys who can't usually stop anybody. And he's only 7,000. So he may cover that just with his rushing alone. So,
well, let's hope that happens.
What's that?
Pick them up.
Yeah. Well, it's a good pickup, man. I wanted to, but I'm not going to take something from you guys. I was like, I should have grabbed him last week. But I like those three guys. And, if you're feeling a little frisky, Matt Ryan, he's a little bit up and down, but maybe he's better GPP play. But Ryan in any given week can do pretty well. And he's pretty cheap at 5,800.
Yeah. It's funny because my dad was asking me about our matchup earlier. And I'm like, dude, I don't give a shit. Like, I didn't win the championship. I don't care about third place. Like, $50 back. Don't care.
Yeah, I picked up a couple players, but that's all I did. I didn't play the waiver wire this week. I waited till it was all cleared, and then I played it.
Yeah, I respect that. For me, I'm locking in Jalen Hurts again, man. 7,000. It's tempting to go down to Matt Ryan, but honestly, the price gap isn't that big of a difference to do it. Only 1,200.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt Ryan, like we talked about, he's so Jekyll and Hyde. Like, he's going to get you 3 points, or he's going to get you 25 or 30. And with Hurts, I really just lock in that floor. Last week he had over 300 yards. He had 11 more carries. His floor is just so high with his rushing ability.
He looks good.
You might worry about Miles once they get down in the red zone, Miles Sanders taking touchdowns away from him. But that's why I like to, in tournaments, like if I'm playing a guy like Hurts and I'm worried, there's a scenario that I'm worried about, like, Sanders, who's not going to be high owned, taking touchdowns away from him. I'll play Sanders in tournaments to kind of cover myself in cash. So yeah, I like him. He's probably really just the only guy that I'm really looking at.
He's a pretty safe play. I mean, with his rushing, I mean, I think last week with his rushing alone, he covered his price. So you add on the 3 touchdowns he threw, whatever that was. I mean, he's looking really good. Bet the Eagles are kind of smacking themselves. They didn't do this sooner.
For sure. Paul, I saw you picked up Hurts in our league. Are you playing him this week?
Am I playing him? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so going into this week, my 2 quarterbacks, obviously I put in Phillip Rivers last week, with not really being sure how Breeze is going to play coming off his first game from the rib injury. Rivers is just kind of like a safe bet. That's why I put him in. He's just good for like 18 pretty much every week. Breeze obviously outplayed him, but it was all in the second half, so I really wasn't safe with either of those 2 guys. This week I picked up Hurts. Figure Hurts can hit that 20 at least, and then hopefully more against the Cowboys. I do also have Sanders, so I am doubling up on Eagles, doubling up on Buccaneers with Fournette and Mike Evans, and it looks like I'm doubling up on the Chargers with this lineup, which this is either a terrible thing or hopefully it works. Who knows?
Yeah, man.
Most def. That sounds like a good plan. And then, of course, Dad here, he's got Aaron Rodgers. So Aaron Rodgers in your season long. Plug and play every week.
Yep.
Although, like I did talk about last week, I once lost a championship because I started Rodgers over Tebow. So there are those outliers.
Yep.
I don't think that's going to be the case this time around, but yeah. Well, moving on to running backs, there's just a few guys that I'm really looking at this week as far as like the more expensive guys. You got on the main slate, you got no Derrick Henry, you have no Dalvin Cook, you have no Kamara. So it's interesting. The highest priced running back is Chubb at 7,800. He's certainly an option. He's a beast, and he's going against the Jets. I got burned by Akers last week. I get it. Chubb's better than Akers, but the Jets, they actually have a pretty good run D. So I don't know that I would pay up for Chubb because I'm probably not paying up for him and paying up for David Montgomery. So I'm more likely to pay up for David Montgomery at 7,700. Going against the Jaguars. I mean, dude, the Jaguars are in the driver's seat now for Trevor Lawrence, and they actually made all the moves in the offseason to tank. Front office wise, their team's not very good. So Chicago should definitely steamroll them with as well as David Montgomery's been playing. I like him. And then I'm probably really just going with a pay down option after that as far as cash games. There is the option of Le'Veon Bell with Clyde Edwards-Helaire out. I don't know. He hasn't looked super good, but it's Atlanta. If Mahomes gets him down to the end zone, the goal line a couple times, he could definitely fall in and score a couple, just like Fournette did last week. Fournette didn't look good, but he's got 2 touchdowns. Or Darrell Henderson, if you think he's going to get the bulk of the carries with Akers out, Darrell Henderson's only 4,500. So if you pay up and then you go with the Darrell Henderson, you have a lot of options at wide receiver and tight end.
Yep.
Those are going to be my guys. Nice.
I like it. I like the Henderson call. I think he probably gets a 60-40 split at least, would be my guess. But, he kind of was the guy until Akers took over. Yeah, man. Sure. I'm going back to someone who hasn't played great but had a pretty good game last week was Giovanni Bernard.
Yes.
He's got a great matchup against the Texans, the Houston Texans. And they have a whole Bundy.
You're right.
Only 4,800. He's super cheap. I like Gio a lot.
To be honest, he's probably safer than Henderson because, they could just decide they want to give Malcolm Brown a bunch of carries.
True. Yep. But he hasn't played great, but he did have a good week last week. The previous week he had fumbled and they kind of benched him for that. But, Mixon's out again. So Gio's in play. You mentioned Le'Veon Bell. I think I'm on him this week at only 5,800. I assume that, I don't know, the Chiefs put up points on everybody, but I think he's going to get the bulk of the work. We never know, but I believe he will. Also, going back to J.K. Dobbins, if Mark Ingram is a healthy scratch again, then it's just him and Gus Bus. So, man, at 6,200, Dobbins isn't a bad play. The other guy I had on my list, again, was McKissick. He's a little more expensive than last week, but it looks like Haskins is going to start again from what you're seeing in the injury reports. And like I said, I think he got 15 targets last week. So McKissick may be in play at 6,400 again.
Yeah. Maskless at a strip club, it's not going to be enough to keep him out of the starting lineup, I guess. So, we're gonna get more Haskins.
Oh God! Did you hear the Ryan Leaf? Was it Ryan Leaf? I think Ryan Leaf said he's like, it's like looking into a mirror, like the stupid decision making. I was like, it's a bad comparison.
Yeah.
Well, you don't want to be looked into a mirror, that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody just broke a glass. Must be Haskins down there partying with strippers.
And I know he's not on the main slate, but the over under for the highest one of the week is not on the main slate, but it's the Green Bay, Tennessee. So if you're not doing just main slate stuff, I think King Henry's in play for sure. I think Adams is in play for sure. A lot of good plays in that game, but unfortunately they're not on the main slate.
Speaking of, we got in our season long, we got a running back matchup going on. Dalvin Cook versus Derrick Henry. I gotta say, Eric, it's not a good week for the zero RB truthers in our league. Like yourself, we got fucking 2 elite running backs in the championship. What is happening?
That''s true, but 4 out of the first 6 picks tanked from injury or just didn't perform well. So that's what it's based on is that. But yeah, you're right. It's looking pretty good there.
Well, you know what? I got to say, with some of the backs that I got late on the waiver wire, I might go zero RB next year. So we shall see.
Man. You got some choices to make with your keepers.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. Well, the wide receivers. Let's go to the wide receivers next. Who do you like this week, Eric?
Yeah, man. A guy is going to have, I think he's going to have a bounce back week and was targeted a lot is Brandon Cooks. He didn't have a great game last week, but he's coming off the concussion and then like a knee injury or something else. They're playing the Bengals, which they made Big Ben look bad, but I think they've kind of been exposed. I don't think the Bengals are that good. But Brandon Cooks is only 6,200. He's pretty cheap. Deontay Johnson, 6,300. Big Ben like targets him like almost to a fault. He looks his way on almost every pass. Looks like he's kind of getting over those drop issues. If he can stay healthy, guy's a monster. 2 other guys in the same game I really like are Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. Both in the same game. They're against Seattle, who has the worst pass defense in the league. And I imagine they're going to try to bounce back after that loss to the Jets. And then I have on there kind of undecided, but Allen Robinson. The Bears have an incredible matchup week. They may just probably will stomp the Jags. And so I imagine they put up a lot of points. He's a little more expensive, but they might just put their foot on their throat and just crush him. But he's 7,700 for A-Rob.
Yeah, he's not too bad.
A little pricey.
Just looking at it though, he is going to be chalk this week, 21%. He's actually second projected right now behind Tyreek Hill. So he would make a lot of sense. And then another guy in that who I like Allen Robinson. I like Tyreek Hill, but in that same game, also like Calvin Ridley. He's a little bit of salary relief from Tyreek Hill. Maybe if you do a Ridley, Kelsey stack, that could work. Kelsey's going to be really expensive. But, we'll get into that too. But yeah, I do like those games. I also like one guy. If he is healthy, he kind of screwed everyone last week. He's like, oh, Schefter was like, well, we don't know how many snaps he's going to play or whatever with Keenan Allen, and then he's yelling into the camera,
yeah.
"Don't sit me." You should have said actually last week. Yeah. and that's another thing. Once I played Paul and Keenan Allen didn't go off, I was like, oh, dude, I'm gonna win this. I'm going to the championship. Not so much.
Yeah, when I saw that happening, I was like, man, I was already poised, like a little. It was already looking bad. I went from like, I think projected 141 to like 131 to like projected to like 125. And I was like, I'm screwed. Like Henry, thank God, came through like 15. So balanced that game out a little bit. But I was like, I am screwed.
Yeah. For sure. Well, yeah, Henry, when he had 15, I was like, well, that helps Paul. Like if they both dudded, I would have won. Like based on, how close our matchup was. But yeah, it was, he saved you a little bit for sure. Cause Henry outproduced his projections, but yeah. Eric, I do agree with you on Kupp and Woods. However, I did get burned the last time because of that same matchup. And I do think Seahawks their secondary has kind of gotten a little bit better. I think some of it has to do with them not pushing the ball down the field as much. So, they want to be like more run focused and thus it's kind of helped their defense a little bit. But, I agree. It's not a bad matchup and, they're not overpriced, Kupp and Woods. Another guy I do like in that game I mentioned earlier, with Atlanta and Kansas City, Russell Gage, he's definitely some salary relief off of Ridley is only 5,100. He had a pretty decent game last week. And then if you do like that Seattle Rams game, definitely in tournaments, I'm kind of looking at Metcalf and Lockett. The reason why I would play Metcalf in a tournament is because everyone's going to be scared of Ramsey and his ownership probably going to be down. So I feel like he can be good in a tournament. I'm definitely not playing him in cash at 7,800. But also I feel like Lockett's due for some positive regression. He's only 6,500.
Let's hopefully that doesn't happen this week.
Yeah, we definitely locked it. So I'm sure. And then another guy I do really like, Deontay Johnson. He seems to have gotten over his drops a little bit. Last week he had 13 targets. Yeah. So his volume has just been stable. As long as he catches the ball, he's going to have a good week.
Yeah, I know before the game in Cincinnati, they said he was out on the field 3 hours prior to the game, working on it, which says a lot, I think, about his character.
I admire that level of dedication.
Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely. Well, let's move on to the tight ends. About to wrap this thing up.
Yeah. We'll fly through them, man. A guy that I mentioned earlier, the same game as A-Rob, is Cole Kmet. He's only 3,000.
Yeah.
And if you think they're going to cross the Jags, which is a good possibility, then he could only 3,000. He doesn't need much to cover, especially in a cash game. So Tyler Higbee, looking at that game, if we expect a lot of points, it's got the fourth highest over under on the card. So Higbee's only 4,000, and then Logan Thomas, he has a ton of targets, whether it's with Smith or Haskins. I like him a lot, even though he's a little expensive at 4,900.
Yeah, he crushed it last week. He's starting to, just watching him too, he's starting to look like he's taking that step to be one of the elite tight ends of the league.
Looks good.
In his pricing, it's still way below, guys like Kelsey and Waller and even Andrews, it's lower than him. Dude, I love Kelsey. It's really hard to pay for an $8,500 tight end.
True.
I had him in my lineup, some of my lineups last week. I'll consider it. We also have Andrews. Him going against the Giants, not a bad play, but I'm more so leaning towards Logan Thomas and then Hooper. You got Hooper at like 3,400. Tight ends have done really well against the Jets this year. So I like Hooper. I think he had like 70% of the snaps last week. He's only $3,500. I've been burned by K-Man a couple times, so
yeah,
I might switch off of him. But yeah, I definitely like that. And then, we always pay down. We don't spend a lot of time at tight end and defense because it's a pay down thing, because unless you have the two highest guys like Kelsey and Waller, and even Kelsey's consistent, but even Waller can be up and down. His really good games are really good, but a lot of times he does not hit value. So it's a very volatile spot. There's a lot of variance. So normally you're going to want to pay down, and we'll do the same thing with defense. We don't spend a lot of time on defense. You're basically trying to play a matchup, but you're not trying to pay up a ton, right? Because it normally, more times than not, does not pay off. So speaking of that, what do you like? Who do you like this week for defense?
I always read this backwards. I have WFT written down, and I read that as the other way around. The Washington football team. It gets me every time. That they're playing the Panthers, and Panthers. They're kind of up and down. They're not a great offense. It can be pretty decent. They can be bad at times.
3K looks like he's out again this week.
Yeah,
I think they're just going to shut him down for the season.
I mean, their season's done. There's nothing to play for at this point. But yeah, I don't. The Texans are playing Cincinnati. They have a backup QB there. Any week can just shit the bed. 2,800, and then I have the Chargers against the Broncos, because the same thing we said about Matt Ryan is similar with Locke. He can be kind of Jekyll and Hyde. He can be good, or he can just, like when he played the Chiefs, I think they also, that was part like special teams, but he threw like 3 picks or 4 picks or whatever it was. He could be good, or he could be bad. He's just kind of up and down. So I got the Chargers at 3K.
Oh, that's a great one. And, this is Broncos podcast where, we got 3 Broncos fans on here. Specifically when Locke is going to be good is when the team he's playing against is not good. So I'd probably play the Chargers. I mean, Locke had a good half against the Chargers. He had a good fourth quarter last time, because it's what the Chargers do. Nobody is better at blowing games than the Chargers, except for maybe the Falcons, actually.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, they like to blow games. But yeah, this one's not in Denver. This one's on the road. I'm gonna guess that Locke, even if he has a decent game, he's probably gonna throw a pick or two. So yeah, it's probably a good play. I mean, before he had the game against the crappy Panthers where he threw 4 touchdowns, 3 games prior to that he threw 7 interceptions, and people acting like we're giving him a hard time. Like, dude, he threw 7 picks in 3 games. Okay, stop being a homer. Like, be fair, be accurate. That's what he's done, and he still has plenty of weapons. It's kind of funny when I tweeted about this yesterday, but when I listen to podcasts of like people who aren't from Denver, all they do is say the Broncos have all these weapons, and the team would be way better if it wasn't for Locke. But when you listen to people in Denver, it's like, oh, poor Locke. Like, let's give him some time, dude. Take your orange colored glasses off. Be fair.
He's got more talent than he had last year.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And more time in the saddle. So
yeah. Well, we'll see if Matthew Stafford becomes available. Always on the hot seat. I don't think he's going to wait around. He may say nice things to the media, but I think he's going to make a move, whether it be a free agent or the draft. But anyways, I don't want to go off on. I digress. I don't want to go off on a long tangent here, but. Yeah, I like that. Also, the Texans are like 2,800. They're good. I was looking at Dallas. They are going against the Eagles, and you look at it and you're like, the opponent is ranked 26th. I'm like, well, yeah, that was when Wentz was turning the ball over all the time. The past couple of weeks, I don't feel like that's adjusted for the past couple of weeks when Hurts is playing well. So, I do like Houston. I mean, if you're completely punting the position, dude, I haven't seen a defense under 2,000 in a long time. The Falcons are 1,900. I'm definitely not doing that against the Chiefs. But yeah, that's been a long time since we've seen that. But I guess you feel the Jets build on what they did last week against Cleveland. That would probably be the furthest I would punt defense. Or you can, say maybe the Jaguars against Chicago, but I don't really like that matchup. So yeah, I'd probably pay up to go to the Texans if I had to.
Yo, man.
But yeah.
There's a couple guys I just want to throw out there just for some good tournament plays. Just a few that I wrote down. Yeah. Ito Smith is only 4K, and the usually I don't pay attention to coach speak, but when they come out and just straight up say something negative, that Gurley has basically lost the starting position, and Ito Smith is a guy. He's only 4K. Just you can take a shot at that. I mean, he straight up said Gurley's not the starter anymore, which is bad news. Ty Johnson is only 3,500. He had a pretty good game last week. You never know when he could have a decent game against the Browns. Darrell Williams, you mentioned earlier, he's only 4,200. Wayne Gallman, although he seems like he's kind of a contrarian play because he's playing the Baltimore, but their run D isn't as good as their pass D. And the only other guy I have on here was kind of a dart throw, but David Moore, the number 3 receiver in Seattle. If you expect Ramsey and the best corners to be on Lockett and Metcalf, there's a chance David Moore could have a good game, and he's only 3,200. That's it. Yeah,
or Swain. Russell's been targeting other guys more so. Swain. Also, I'm with you on those. And then another one that I do like, a really good matchup against the Jets are Rashad Higgins. He's only 4,800. He's a die play too. And then Mecole Hardman, specifically, like in tournaments, you're getting silly for the millie. You got to stack that guy. I think he was in the Millie Maker once this year, I think, as well. But yeah, $3,100 if you're trying to do all kinds of stacks, and you do a Tyreek stack or a Kelsey stacked with Ridley. You run it back with Ridley. You could do that with Mecole Hardman at $3,100. Definitely makes sense.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Well, that's gonna do it. Week 16. It's Christmas Eve. Everyone have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Everyone.
Yep.
Good luck in your championship. Dad, Paul, you guys got any parting words? Maybe talk some shit. We've had some.
I was just telling before you got on this, I was just telling Eric, I was like, man, it's like I hope I don't have to talk shit to Mark. I was like, because Mark comes out like the Chiefs. Like 1 week you might have like a low scoring week and he gets by with it. But then you're like, all right, this isn't looking too bad. And then he just turns it on and you're like, oh my God, I'm 170 points deep.
I'll be honest. I'll be honest, Paul. I'm a little nervous about this matchup. I got Lockett and what's his name? Anderson. I don't know. They're kind of up and down, so a little nervous, but best of luck to you, man.
Yeah, best of luck to you too. It's gonna be a game. Hopefully.
I won't talk shit till we're done.
I'm not confident enough to go into this and just run my mouth because I've seen what you've done to pretty much every team in the league.
I don't need to curse it. So
fantasy gods,
right?
That's funny.
Well, good stuff. Good luck to you guys. Good luck to everyone in their championships, and then good luck in DFS. My dad doesn't know it yet, but he's gonna play a few DFS lineups on DraftKings this week. So.
Yeah, man, get him going.
Forward to that.
Yeah, get him going.
Yeah,
absolutely. So next year he can come on and talk some DFS with us.
Sounds good. All right.
Right on.
Well, guys.
How are you guys, man?
I gotta actually get back to work because I've been on a lunch break for about an hour.
That's perfect timing, man.
Hey, man, it's Christmas Eve. You deserve this.
Yeah. All right, later, guys.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Merry Christmas.
Later.
I'll take care. Peace.
Bye.